This was supposed to be a testimonial interview, and it turned out to be one of the most valuable podcasts ever. If you're someone in your 20s and your 30s and you're trying to level up, especially if you're trying to break into the world of sales, this is one of the most valuable podcasts ever. This is one of my clients, Pedro, who started as an agency owner, shut that down, got into high ticket sales, joined the Closing Bible, but then excelled as a sales rep, even excelled into being the head of sales for a ginormous company who is now crushing it. He's employed people from the Closing Bible. Such a cool story. Pedro is the man. Check out this podcast.
What is the value that you can provide that is extremely high value? And you can be a great sales rep that also understands that particular industry, as long as you know the parameters or the limitations of what makes you focus well and what steers your focus sideways, and you'll be fine.
This is Pedro. So Pedro joined the Closing Bible forever ago. I don't know, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
How long ago was it?
Man, we met summer of 2022.
Yeah.
I joined unofficially winter of 2022, officially winter of 2023 as a closer.
Right.
Then we did the first interview May 2023.
Dang. Okay. And it's June 2024 now. So it's been a full year since the last interview.
Yeah. Or 10 years in the Wi-Fi space.
Yeah. Right. It's like a decade over here. That's crazy. So, I mean, we'll spend a little bit of time on just kind of like what I guess pre-Closing Bible life was, because, I didn't really know you then, aside from, taking the sales call. You're running an agency. So I guess spend a little bit of time kind of painting that picture for people who don't know you.
Yeah. So for Closing Bible, I'd say the first real quote unquote hustle was I was playing to achieve a professional contract in soccer. I was doing that. I call myself the full-time student athlete from 14 to 18. And that was training. And you can ask anybody that knew me in high school, 6 hours a day.
Yep.
Granted, that's not healthy for you. And that resulted in stress fractures on my right tibia. Long story short, didn't stop playing on those stress fractures. A few episodes later, getting tested for cancer. For just pushing it way too much. Getting tested for a tumor on that leg for just pushing it too much. This is around the time of COVID. From COVID, I did the famous Google search, how to make money online.
Yep.
I found drop shipping, blew all of my money on learning how to drop ship and learning how to market e-commerce stores. Fell in love with that space, ended up becoming a full-time media buyer, dropped out of college, spent a few millions of dollars on Facebook ads, a few millions of dollars on TikTok ads. And that led me to the agency. I was running the agency. I was an expert, but I didn't have any case studies or anybody operating under me. I just had no sense of fulfillment systems and how to actually run a company. So I was very much a glorified freelancer, taking the bulk of salesmen and then CSM and then media buyer. That was depressing.
Yeah.
But lightly. And then I just realized naturally my strengths are communication and the front end.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an expert at what I sell. When we met and we stayed in touch, I put the two and two together and took the leap, rebranded, remasked into a closer. Now, more than a year now into full-time closing, I'm now sales manager at an offer that is precisely in my background of expertise.
Yeah.
And so
it's really cool to hear everything you're saying about, soccer or, more importantly, football. And like the energy that you put into that, like athletes always crush it in sales. Where that hurt you, like that helps you tremendously in this space and this side of things, because it's very results driven, like effort in, money out. And you really pick things up really fast because you took that energy and put it into Closing Bible. Like when you were here, every single training Pedro was in, like every single day, I'd see messages, I'd see things happening, I'd see momentum with him. And the day that you came in, I'm like, you're going to crush, like you just will. And I knew you were going to be one of the clients that not only crushed it as a sales rep, but we're going to evolve to do something above that, which was either sales management or running your own company or working with some teams on businesses on an equity or rev share basis. Here we are. And that has happened. So correct me if I'm wrong here. You closed for one company for a few months and then transitioned into the company that you're at now, closed with them for a while, and then moved up into sales management, correct?
Yep. And so even backtracking before getting on that offer, because you hit an amazing point with transferring energy. Being a professional transcends the industry you are in.
Mm-hmm.
I played in 4 different countries. I've seen this time and time again. Even in closing, you can get on an offer. That doesn't mean you're going to keep being on that offer.
Yeah.
And the principles that allow you to stay on that offer or continue to be in that relationship that's conducive to what you want to become, it's your values and your attributes that you decide to execute on.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to give that note because I know a lot of people who are deciding to get into Closing Bible. I think that's one message that isn't given enough, especially to young men and women. Being a professional transcends any domain you get into. And once you realize that, you are able to take that paradigm or take that foundation, if you will, and build any building you want on top of that foundation. Tying to the closing and becoming sales manager, got onto a biz op offer, incredible deal flow and lead flow. And I was very fortunate to be closing under a very competent leader, 2 competent leaders, one very competent leader on the operations side, one very competent leader on the growth side. That mixed with just willing to learn and implement, put any fragment of ego to the side, almost to a fault. You shouldn't take 9 to 10 calls a day in an ideal situation.
Yeah.
But I was doing, on average, I was clearing 7 to 8 live calls per day for, say, 3.5 months, taking on more training, more sales training on the side, apart from Closer Bible. Hopping on any call that I could to get mentorship, learning from the top performers. And that offer, although 3.5 months is nothing in terms of time, in regards to intensity during that 3.5 months, I believe I was able to experience more through that than what most reps experience in their first offer in a year or even a year and a half.
Absolutely.
And the stars aligned with all of that working in the dark after those 3.5 months, after our interview, because I was still on that offer when we were doing that first interview.
Right. Yeah.
Where there was an offer in the space that I'm passionate about and that I have multiple 7 figures in buying ads in popped up. And because of the skill stacking and the remasking, I was able to combine both, I'd say, facets of skills and experience together and take advantage of the offer that I'm at now. And so I've been at the same offer for more than a year. I ramped up to top performer within the first month. I ramped up to sales manager within 5 months. And here we are today, just continuing on implementing, continuing on building. What's interesting about the 2 offers is the minimum ticket size doubled. And the reason I point that out is because a lot of reps at the beginning of their journey, they overlook the importance of learning your offer or selling what you understand and what plays to your strengths. You might not be passionate about that offer, but if you understand it to a T and you know how to speak to those people, even if the OTE is lower, it's a shame that you can't comprehend at the beginning what the upside of just the lessons that you will learn.
Yeah.
But those lessons are worth more than the extra 3K that you're going to make on OTE or whatever monetary at the beginning, right?
Yep.
I'd say that that's something to worth noting because it's not said enough in this space to beginners.
I remember, 5 years ago in my first offer ever, I was ripping 12-hour days, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. And my first month, I made $1,700. It worked out to being like $3 an hour when I did the math. And my family was like, Garrett, quit today. Like, what are you doing? Like, just go get a job at McDonald's and you'll literally make more money working the same hours. And I remember every morning writing down on a piece of paper, like the same 2 sentences, like until I filled the whole page. it isn't about the money that I'm earning. It's about the skills that I'm building. Because if I can neglect the money and just focus on getting better, like the money's going to follow, because these skills are going to compound far bigger than any money ever could. And I don't know where the hell I got that from, but I'm very glad I did, because through any opportunity that I took, I was like, money, whatever, I'll figure that out. What great leaders can I get around? And what great teams can I get around? What great companies can I get around where I can like learn so much that in 6 months, 12 months, I can write my own paycheck wherever I go and anyone would be lucky to have me. And I think you had that same mindset.
Precisely. It's just pivoting. Stop asking, what can someone else do for me? What do I get? What do I receive? No, it's what is the value that you can provide that is extremely high value.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be a great sales rep that also understands that particular industry, has experience in that industry in another way, who grew up with that customer avatar. Whether a great example, you're selling a course for blue collar business owners, or a biz op for blue collar business owners.
Mm-hmm.
If all of your uncles were carpenters and your dad was a construction worker, and all of your friends, their dads were electricians and plumbers, the likelihood that you will be able to be persuasive on that offer is very fucking high.
I love what you said, because dude, like I bounced around offers a tad and I genuinely thought sales wasn't for me. I was at a sales agency, so I wasn't bouncing around company to company. I was in the agency and they'd move me from client to client. And even after the fact, I moved to a few different companies and they were almost all e-com related. And I was just like, I'll sell it because it pays rent, but like, I just don't really align with this. I don't get excited about this. I tried drop shipping. So I was like, I kind of know the lingo a little bit, but I never really made substantial money until I started selling stuff in the world of finance, whether it be SBA loans to business owners or things regarding like the stock market. Because dude, if I wasn't closing deals, I was watching YouTube videos about how interest rates changed and how loans are different and how banks are giving out money and the way the financial system operates and what hedge funds are doing and what investments different people are making. So when I went to sell that stuff, I was like, oh, I'm just talking about what I would talk about if I wasn't working in it. And then my income just that's interesting.
1000%. It's interesting. So one of the things that we implement and that started being implemented was one of the things that I started enforcing is very much, even if the prospect is a DQ, if you understand the industry, take time to provide value to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so a great example, this actually happened the other day. It was a CPG company. So it was a brand selling tea, and they did not meet the revenue threshold for us to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And the language she was using was of somebody who is a first-time founder.
Yeah.
And I could only spot that because I understood what somebody who's failing sounds like in that space and somebody who's succeeding sounds like in that space. Took 30 minutes of my time opening up my screen, showing her, hey, if this is happening, then as XYZ and someone who's been in this space, perhaps this isn't the best thing to do. And at the end of the day, whether you sell the person or not, or you close the person, you have to provide value to who you're speaking to. And if you can't provide value to who you're speaking to, you're perhaps not in the right room or in the right offer, right? Because you need to make money for the offer and you need to convince the person that you can help them. But no, it's phenomenal. I'm very grateful for the journey that I've been on so far. And I'm very confident that, again, 22 years old, we're both children, so to speak, in the grand scheme of things. I'm very eager to hit the next lessons on this journey and be able to apply those lessons down the line in whatever situations pop up. And now the big situation or the big spot in the journey is that transition to leadership now, where I'm lead closer. I'm still closing full time. On top of that, I'm the captain on the field, so to speak, if you will.
Yeah. For a lot of our closers, our setters, our active sales reps right now that are like, I don't want to say capped income wise, but I feel like I'm ready for like the next thing. Like I was talking about you earlier before we got this thing kicked off, like a lot of closing Bible clients, the millisecond they start making 10, 15, 20, maybe 30 grand a month and they feel a relative ceiling. It's like, okay, what's next? Like I've seen the world of money that's out here. Like, what do I do next? Do I manage sales teams? Do I start my own business? Do I, get equity in a couple different businesses and try to scale them? And do I do consulting stuff, coaching stuff? Like, what do I kind of do next? Like, you obviously lean towards, sales management and ultimately just moving up within the company that you're in and helping grow that bad boy. And I think it's because the amount of alignment that you have with the company, and you love the founder. I mean, I've met you and the founder in person. You guys have great chemistry together. What was it like making that transition? How did that conversation get introduced? Was that something he brought to you or you brought to him? And for those of you who I guess don't know what a lead closer is, kind of explain what that role looks like, and if you're comfortable, like how comp was tweaked for that.
Player coach.
Yep.
So very much you're playing in the field. I'm closing full time. On top of this, I have the responsibilities of coaching. And so mapping out the strategy, making sure the other players are performing, being there first and foremost for the other players before myself, so to speak, as a player. And so there's a great quote, and I think it's perhaps the most profound quote that I've heard about leadership up until now. And it's leading is putting everyone else before you.
Yeah.
And so I'd say that was the main pivot from being just a closer versus being a lead closer. It's I have to perform. I'm a closer in my own right. That being said, I'm putting the other closers before me. So when I like the question that you asked where, hey, if you're a rep where you're hitting 10, 15, 20K, I think the first question would be, have you spent enough time consolidating your position, and is your performance consistent enough? I think there's a huge tendency to hit a 20K month and then go on to the next thing. I think that's especially if you say that you are serious about this particular industry, great, you hit one great month.
Yeah.
Can you do 10? And I think that's where if you can do 10, then you know that you can actually hit that next level. So I would really spend time pondering that. Am I hitting this out of just trigger happiness to get to the next level? Do I want to advance to more responsibility out of ego? Or is this a rational decision based off of track record of experience, being able to lead a group? What are your leadership skills like? What is your ability like in regards to influencing the group? Granted, I guess leading is essentially influencing a group. How comfortable are you with that? It's shiny to say that you're lead closer. Yeah, I'm lead closer. I'm lead of the team.
Yeah.
It's yes, there are actual responsibilities to that. And so the way that the conversation was brought up was, I'd say, pretty organic. Anywhere that I'm at, it ties to professionalism, transcends any industry you're in. One of my main beliefs is you are a leader in any position you're in, at any company you're in any room that you're in. You're an emitter of frequency, whether you like it or not. And so you can choose to be an emitter of frequency that exerts a strong vibration, a strong frequency, able to lead, or you can choose to show a low frequency. And so even if the comp was more a base and then continuing with commission for the responsibilities, that being said, I would not pivot to be the lead closer or the sales manager just for the comp.
Yeah.
If you're doing that just for the number on the paper without assessing your actual skill set, it ties back to, okay, you might have the offer. Can you excel at the offer? And that is subjective to whoever's listening to this. Personally, my mindset towards that pivot was, okay, any team that I played on, I was never captain, but I was vice captain. I have coaching experience in football. A lot of people don't know this, apart from perhaps guys that I grew up with, but I actually have a reffing license in soccer. And so I can actually ref any game up until college level in Canada.
Interesting.
And so when we speak about leadership, I've gotten death threats on fields. I ref 15 years old, I was reffing 16, 17-year-old guys. 16 years old, I was reffing adult games, recreational. And so I had a very strong inference that I could control a group
Yeah.
and influence that group.
Yeah.
It's a lot of different, it's a long answer to that question,
No, it's
but
a good answer. I
yeah, these are factors.
Yeah, I think
And so,
I like what you said about not doing it for the title or like the number on the page, because a lot of people inside of the closing Bible that start crushing it and they get in the, multi six figures kind of range income wise. They're like, I want to manage sales teams now. And I was like, do you? Like, if you
yeah,
do, that's fucking awesome. And I'll help you in any way, shape, or form that I possibly can. But I want you to know,
yeah,
like, what the day-to-day work actually looks like, because I don't think you know fully. And I want you to at least understand this before you decide
yeah,
to do something, because I don't want you to hate your life and make less money.
yeah,
Like, management is knowing that you did something that made the team win and then giving everyone else the spotlight beside yourself. It's like
yeah,
not getting a pat on the back when things go good. It's getting yelled at when things go bad.
yeah,
It's like reviewing end of day reports and looking at spreadsheets and checking metrics and being a leader for people and helping them through personal life shit. It's everything besides closing. In closing,
yeah,
it's me, me, me. I close deals. I'm number one. I get the spotlight. I'm running the show. It's like being the best soccer player on the field versus like being the coach.
coach.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
It's no, and it's a great point that you bring up. And it's something where again, it's can you consolidate your position? If you're going through easy terrain, go through it quickly. Now, if going through easy terrain is boring, is it a you issue or is it because you're actually ready for the next step? And I think
Mm,
everything that we're talking about boils down to that.
yeah.
Because it's very much, and again, we're speaking about an audience that is younger.
Hmm.
And I think that's a tendency perhaps where our perception of topics of consolidating your
Sure.
position or
Yeah.
maintaining before advancing or our time spans are generally shorter than
Of
perhaps
course.
somebody with more experience. And uh yeah, no, I think if you can reflect on that truly and with a third, let's say a security camera in the room that you're reflecting, analyzing
Yeah.
everything neutrally, uh, then you will make the right decision if you're thinking about transitioning to leadership. For me, I fucking love it.
Yeah.
I have more responsibility. I love it. I get to influence an amazing group of people.
Hmm.
I love that. I feel like I'm playing again. I
Yeah.
love that.
It's awesome.
And I feel like I'm building a company contributing to that. And it's a company that I actually care about, where the mission resonates at a very visceral level.
Yeah.
And it's a mission, it's a company that I resonate with, not because of the OTE.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is a huge thing.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
if it was just OTE, I would not be managing the team.
Yeah.
Just very, very fucking blunt. I would not be sales manager if
Right.
I was not passionate about the company and I
Yeah.
didn't believe in the project. And
Yeah.
so,
There's like a depth of like a culture fit. And obviously I don't spend every day with you and Timote. Maybe there's minor nuances that are different, but from the outside looking in, there's
yeah,
an insane culture fit kind of connection. I mean, like even just lifestyle wise, I think you guys resonate. You guys go to different
yeah,
countries together all the time. I mean, tell the viewers kind of what the past 4 months has looked like for Pedro.
yeah. Actually, I'll pull it up here. I have no affiliate link to this app, but for all the digital nomads out there, Flighty is my favorite app on the planet. You should download this, bro. But uh 2024, I've traveled 51,000 kilometers.
Jesus.
How many countries? Hold up. Four. So I've been to 9 countries this year. Uh, I've pitched to, I've pitched at private events. I've attended masterminds. We met for the first time in person at the mastermind in Phoenix in November.
Yep.
Then Dubai. I was at Affiliate World in February, in February. Then we were in London to speak to a group of brands as well. And so that is, yeah, it's phenomenal experiences. And again, before the experiences, it's the day-to-day mundane stuff and the responsibilities and taking the slaps of the wrist when things aren't going well, or when things go very well, right? You give the trophies to the entire team. You give the loot to the entire team, so to speak.
Yep.
But you need to be willing to take the slaps on the wrist when things don't go well. And so it's
Very
been
cool.
incredible journey, extremely fulfilled, not satisfied, extremely fulfilled and on the right path. But it's it all started with one decision, and that was no guarantee on success. No, oh, but what if this doesn't work out? I didn't consult with my parents or my sibling or the fairy godmother. I consulted with myself and where I wanted to go. I assessed my risks and I minimized my downside in a way where if I fail, no regrets. And I find there's a paradox where if you are ready to accept failure, that's when you start moving forward. You're not worried about the risk. And so
offense versus defense.
Offense versus defense. It's very much, there are a lot of guys who are looking for a very high OTE. If you're spending, again, let's say that you are new to this space and you want to make 10K per month, but you're spending 7K per month in random shit, whatever it is. You're better off if you could lower your expenses, at least at the beginning of your journey, where you're able to take bigger risks or perhaps accept lower OTE offers to build that experience. Man, you are minimizing your downside in a way where, because your downside is minimized so much, your upside has been maximized or has risen so much exponentially. And this was my case with sales, because I was living with my parents at the beginning of my sales journey, but it was even my experience with my journey in media buying. I was making 3K per month as a media buyer for 3K USD. So for Canadians, it's 3K USD in Canadian dollars is already. Anyways.
Yeah.
The experience though that I gained making 3K per month media buying was more experience than most marketers have in double the amount of years. And I was only able to have that because my downside was minimized. I wasn't only looking at the upside.
Dude.
And so
it's funny you say that. Like, I vividly remember like my last apartment where I made a fuck ton of money in. It was like I had an apartment with one roommate in college, and then I dropped out and I got an apartment by myself, $620 a month in rent. And I would live on about $300 a month. I would buy $22 Jack's pizzas every time that I would get groceries, and I ate one Jack's pizza per day. And that was my diet, was coffee and Jack's pizza and water. And if I didn't put a rock in front of my front door, grasshoppers would jump through the hole and they would be bouncing all over my apartment. And it was not enjoyable to see. And I, at that moment, was making about 40 to 42 grand a month and living on sub 1K a month. And the amount
Yeah.
of like offense that you can play when your bank account goes up by $40,000 on a monthly basis, even at $8,000 a month, when you can put away seven, and every month of earning is 8 months of living expenses, you can take risks.
Yeah.
Like you can go to that mastermind, you can go travel to meet that person who's going to, change the trajectory of your life. Like you can buy that coaching program, you can take financial risks on spending money on ads or whatever that thing is for you. Like eat shit for like a year when you're making really good money, and you will never have to blink or think about money ever again. And I think you were raised really well, or, read the right books when it came to that, because I did the exact same thing at the beginning of my journey.
1000%. And it's even because we talk about it's all leverage when we speak about going to different countries. I mean, you're going Colombia, Mexico, Argentina.
Yep.
Man, the leverage that you had, lowering downside.
Yeah.
For the same quality of life, it's, let's say, 3 times less expensive. It's probably even much less than
More.
that, but let's say let's say 3 times less expensive, and you're making the same amount of cash flow, right? And it's
Yeah.
I think that's that again, it's an unsexy concept, but I think that's another concept where if beginners were shown this, then I mean, sales, you've hired more than me, but you see all the time, it's what do you want to make this? What is your floor revenue? It's XYZ, and it's, man,
Yeah.
you gotta lower that for now. Just for now.
It's like, do you want your bank account to go up, or do you want your ego to be fulfilled? Like that's the question. And like it's cool. Like if you want to like go buy dope cars and chains and like the cool shades and like wear the cool clothes and have the cool apartment. I'm saying this as I'm sitting in a cool apartment. I still live relatively inexpensive relative to my income. And I'm also spending 3 months in Latin America because I want to learn Spanish and I want to eat food that isn't cancer. But anyway, last, do you have a hard stop in 1 minute?
No, nothing, bro. We can keep going if you can. So
beautiful. I got time. I was curious because you are one of the many people who went through Closing Bible and then ended up hiring from Closing Bible through, hire salesreps.io, the other company for businesses that are doing over 100K a month that want to hire from us. I'm curious for you. You have a very unique hiring philosophy that I wish more businesses had because you've had a lot of success through our hires. What do you look for in a sales rep? If someone's watching this and maybe wants to work at your company, you or have a helping hand, or if not completely control the hiring process at your company. What are some things that you look for in a rep that you bring on?
First and foremost, attributes. And we used to lean more on experience. We've always been an attributes based company, for lack of a better way of putting it. It ties. I think the foundation of my mindset around hiring is it's a team first and foremost. And I say I play, my high school team lost 1 game in 3 years. And the reason for that, granted, we were all very talented players, but we all gelled. The culture fit was all sons of immigrants, all weird in his own way, just a movie character, every single player. But we gelled and we had the right attributes to get the job done all the time. And so when we're hiring sales reps, it's very much what are your attributes and how do they serve to the mission and where we want to go as a company. We look much less on experience now. And I think you have the luxury of doing this when you have a sound training system and you're able to systemize the technical skills that are needed in order to sell or in order to complete a task. Now you just need the right soldier in that seat, so to speak, to execute on those procedures. I'd say for sales reps in particular, you want to show that you have a drive, but you don't want to be overselling yourself on that drive. You want to show extreme accountability.
Yeah.
You are your own CEO at the end of the day as a sales rep, whether you like it or not. On paper, you are your own CEO. Everything that happens to you on that call is your fault. And that's a very extreme position to take. That's the position we take. We do not focus on variables we cannot control. And our hiring process is able to field out if you are faking accountability very, very well.
Yeah.
And I'd say that with the willingness to learn. If you are competent, again, there are tacit things that make up a person that you can be looking for. But if you are well put together, you have the right energy, you are willing to learn no matter what, and you take extreme accountability, right there, you will go very far in any hiring process that you go under.
Yeah.
The issue is when you start exhibiting ego or you start trying to rework something that the company has told you works. So my first experience in a hiring process was as a sales rep going through the first offer that I made. And what I noticed was a lot of guys on mock would try reinventing the wheel, but reinventing the wheel with bad habits, not even good fundamental sales principles. And so the issue I think is a lot of people believe being a sales rep means you need to be a genius at sales and a mastermind. A good sales rep is a very good executor with good best practices instilled in them. In terms of experience, I'd say a lot of people hide their customer service experiences. If you worked at McDonald's, if you've worked at a drive-through, if you've refereed, if you've volunteered, if you've done these gritty minimum wage jobs, man, you have so much leverage as a sales rep. So much. Do not hide that. Show that. And so that's what I would say in terms of hiring we look for. The right person will always out-trump the person who has all the talent but is not the right person. And so it's experience is a plus. We've eliminated a lot of people with a lot of experience to hire people with no experience.
Yeah. And I love your philosophy on that. That's why I asked, because I wanted you to share it. I feel like ego is one of the biggest killers of sales reps that we bring on, that we've, worked with and got placed with different companies. It's ego, because like if you have had your ego hit a certain point where you believe that everything that there is to learn has been learned and that everything outside of what you believe is wrong, good luck growing and improving at a company. Like it's a company has a process because they have sold this thing thousands of times and they have split tested everything that you want to split test. And I promise you, if you say the words on the paper, you will make a lot of money. Like they've already tried it.
Precisely.
Like more times than not, you are wrong and they are right. Granted, there is anomalies where a rep will come on and they add their own twang and their own touch, and it does work.
Yeah.
And then it does get implemented company wide. But at the beginning, do what they say until your performance supersedes everyone else and you are the number one rep on the team. And then say, hey, I see friction when we do this part of the call. Is it cool if I test this one thing? I think this might work better. Sure. Do it for 3 days of calls. Let me know how it works. Oh, wow, it crushes. And now it's our new process.
Precisely. And it's very much, what is that ego based on? And it's a thing of where is that, what is that ego founded on? Especially, and this is again, knowing the knowing that there are a lot of beginners that come through Closing Bible and are perhaps looking for their first offer and are looking at OTEs. So I remember listening to a podcast with Ty Lopez 4 years ago, and this changed my entire philosophy on how I looked at monthly revenues or monthly earnings. And I used to obsess over the first 10K month. I think everyone in this space has obsessed over the first 10K month at one point. It's just like it's like the magic number for some reason.
Yeah.
So what Ty is saying was, if you've never hit 10K if you're trying to hit 10K per month, but you've never hit 5K per month, focus on hitting 5K per month and understand that if you've never hit 10K per month before, the likelihood that your skill level is not at a point to hit 10K per month is very fucking high.
Mm-hmm.
Once you hit 5K, okay, my skill level is at 5K. Let's get to 10K.
Mm-hmm.
But with the humility to realize that you are entering a level you haven't experienced before. And it continues going on. 10K turns into 20K, 20K turns into 50K, 50K turns into 100K. And you hit the nail on the head. It's ego, and then it's unfortunate because ego is the invisible enemy. It's very hard to spot unless you get a true punch in the face.
Oh yeah.
Literally or metaphorically, right? Or figuratively. But it's a tough thing to see, especially if the individual has potential. It's very hard to tell to correct another person's ego. I think it's impossible. It needs to be self-corrected.
They need a smack in the face to like realize it and change it. And like through words or telling them, it doesn't make a difference. Unfortunately, it takes a rock bottom moment to be like, fuck, I was wrong. I won't get into specifics, but like I let someone go today at the company. Not a sales rep, different role, for the exact same reason. He was savage at what he did. He was great. And he thought that meant that he didn't have to show up at the meetings, or he didn't have to do certain processes that we do, or didn't have to act like someone else in the team member, and that like exceptions would be created for him because he was good at what he did. And on that call, I think he's going to change that in his next opportunity, and it'll never happen again. But 2 warnings, 3 warnings meant nothing.
Precisely. And when we go back to execution, the ultimate executor is a robot, and robots don't have ego. And when we speak about scalability, so one of the, I'd say, philosophies that we incorporated as a team is we want to scale. The definition of scale is to amplify. If you have a boat with a lot of holes in the hull of the boat, if you're going to scale that boat, you're amplifying that thing. So all of the holes in that ship are also being amplified. And so when we speak about hiring and scaling, if you're trying to scale that team, you're trying to scale good habits and best practices and what you know is working. There was actually Closer Bible candidate on our setter round of interviews. She asked a really great question, and it was, what is something that the current team isn't doing, or that we should be doing differently? And there's merit to that question. But if the goal of the company is to scale and they're hiring because the team is expanding, it isn't what do you need to do differently? It's what more of the same do you need to be doing? And you can't do that with ego. We say that one of our model companies is McDonald's because the quality is the exact same at every single location. Health, that's another conversation. Scalability, though, if you have McDonald's fries in Tallahassee, then you fly to Seattle and you have McDonald's fries, and then you fly to New York, they taste the exact same.
Yeah.
And you love them. And so it's a bit of a tangent, but ego makes that impossible.
Really well said.
And so
really well said, dude.
Yeah.
Well, this was a blast. This was a nice little philosophy session.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I think to anyone watching, like seriously, whether you're a business owner hiring reps, whether you're a very successful rep, high ticket closer, whatever name you want to call yourself, and you're looking to go to the next level, Pedro is a prime example of that, and shed a lot of wisdom on that next thing that you do after the fact and knowing when the time is right. And if you guys are just interested in this whole world, I think you got a good glimpse of what levels are next, and even just to get to level one, which whether that's being a setter, whether that's being a closer, you have a really good grasp of the mindset, the skills, the habits that you need to incorporate to get to the top of that game. And it's all because Pedro is a killer, dude. The fact that you're 22 years old, I forget that a lot when I talk to you. I'm 24, so we're basically the same age, but
Yeah.
gnarly that you're 22 years old. That's super cool.
Likewise, man. Likewise, man. But again, environments and who you surround yourself by. And so I was speaking about this with another guy in the sales space, and I think we're the first generation where the billionaires in 40 years most likely already know each other via this space, via this online community. It's crazy to think about, but you can grow in any environment with like-minded people and people ahead of you anywhere you are. And so
Absolutely.
I'll leave on that note, but pleasure. I'll see you guys in a year.
Absolutely. I'll see you in Colombia.
100%. 100%. We'll set that up, but you're gonna love it, man. It's fun.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, man.